Well, salutations, fellow vidiots. Welcome back to yet another episode of that full moon madness, baby. So it's been a little while since we did anything for the show here. I do apologize for that. Kind of ended up on like a 2-month-long hiatus with no warning whatsoever. I also left you guys hanging on that Meridian review. We will be taking care of that in the near future. But it was a productive break, so I can at least say that much. Went ahead and got my visual health looked at and taken care of. It was getting pretty poor, so, you know, that was a long time coming. Quality of life is night and day. I mean, I'm just doing so much better now that I can properly fucking see things. Now that I'm seeing myself on camera, though, probably should have sprung for the extra 25 bucks to get that anti-glare shit. Live and learn. Maybe I can go get it thrown on, like, sometime this week. Other than that, added a couple of furry friends to the Drunken Master dungeon back there. I'm sure they will start harassing me at some point during this shoot, because that's what little kitties do. Also took a trip to the coast with the family, hit up Ripley's Believe It or Not, the aquarium on the Oregon coast, spent some time at the beach, and it was just overall a really great time. Also read a lot of young reader novels from my youth, you know, shit that was like required reading in grade school, other stuff that I just checked out at the time. And I gotta say, you know, I highly recommend revisiting those. Those old, simple, straightforward stories resonate throughout the ages because they are so simple and straightforward and easy to pick up and still enjoy. Stuff on my immediate reading list is On the Far Side of the Mountain, which is the sequel to My Side of the Mountain, Stuart Little, and The Hobbit. So, looking forward to tearing through those again. Took a lot of stuff down from my anime backlog, ordered some more anime, ordered some more novels, you know, bought some shit at Barnes & Noble. All good stuff, none of which resulted in any content for you guys, though. So I'm pretty happy to be getting back at this here. We got a big old wave of full moon shit coming your way, but we're going to kick it off today with, you know, our Pappy Joe stimmy haul. Or at least the other parts of it that we didn't cover back when we did the resin statues video. So we got 29 movies to go through here across probably 3 segments. We got several featured trailers we're going to look at, as well as a musical number that I think you guys will really enjoy. So, as is always the case whenever possible, most of our shit is purchased direct from fullmoondirect.com, where you can buy movies, merch, and much, much more. Unfortunately, that does not apply to our first 5 items in this haul here. I had to go outside of the direct channels and get these on Amazon and eBay. I did manage to snag them all new, like sealed even, for the same exact price I would have got them from Full Moon. One of them came back in stock right after I finally pulled the trigger after like 2 months of waiting. So that just does go to show you that stuff will eventually come back in stock, but sometimes if it's something you want like right away, you might have to just snag it off of, you know, another website. First of those items is a copy of Shadow Zone. This is not one that I have like any childhood experience with or nostalgia for. I don't even think I really knew about it until I started making like my main full moon wish list at the beginning of this collection quest. And I'm certainly glad that I put it on there. Definitely a gem. I mean, this came out in 1990, so right out of the gate. And I don't know why more people don't talk about it. As you can see on the front, they tout like the similarities to Alien and The Thing pretty hard, and those are both pretty prevalent. The best way I could describe it is if you were to mix those with that movie Dreamscape and, you know, add in a bunch of like cool gore effects and slimy shit and some boobies. Definitely looking forward to doing the review on that and encouraging more people to check it out. After that, we got a copy of The Killer Eye, some late 90s full moon dank here. Basic gist of this is the scientist dude's like, you know, convinced the human eye is this portal to another dimension, so he gets this, you know, homeless male prostitute, runs some experiments on his fucking eyeball, it grows to enormous size, develops a taste for, you know, knowledge and young women, and starts terrorizing the town. Watched it pretty drunk, enjoyed what I remember of it, looking forward to watching it sober, and doing a fucking review at some point. I'm gonna stop saying that shit, I'm not gonna broken record this entire special. Of course I'm looking forward to reviewing the movies, even if they're movies that, you know, I think might be kind of shit. This, however, is not one of those, and that is a copy of Invisible, The Chronicles of Benjamin Knight. This and our next item are great examples of desperately needed sequels that I've been waiting on for like 2 months, one of which I tried to order and kind of ran into a snag. We'll cover that in a minute. But I would have snagged them right away from Full Moon if they had them in stock. This one never did come back in stock. Our second item did. But this is a sequel slash spin-off to Mandroid. If you guys remember right from the pickup segment where we snagged that, I was unsure if I'd actually watched it as a kid until I watched it, and then I was pretty hyped on it because I did rent it a few times, but the sequel here, Invisible, I rented the shit out of. So this is like grail status in the Full Moon library for me. It's a childhood classic, and I couldn't be happier to have it on the shelf. As is the case with our next item here, and that is a copy of Backlash Oblivion 2. Some of you guys may remember a few pickup segments back, I tried to order this off of eBay, and some false advertising motherfucker sent me a 3-pack, like with this, the first Oblivion, and Seed People in it, instead of the single edition of Backlash, which to a lot of people would have been a good bonus, but I already owned the other movies, and I wanted that single edition, baby. I needed that fucking cover art. I wanted that numbered spine. I wanted that characteristic lack of special fucking features. I just wanted it single edition for collection purposes, and boy, am I happy to finally have it. The other ones here in this stack, including our final item, as far as the OOP stuff goes, I can sort of forgive them for, because they're not movies that are necessarily fan favorites, or movies that most people are going to want right away. But Invisible and Oblivion 2 are fan favorites in their own right, and they're sequels to fan favorite Full Moon movies. So there's like double the reason to have them in print as often as possible. Backlash actually did come back in stock like as soon as I received this in the mail, so that was kind of cool. Just goes to show you that the stuff will eventually come back in. But, you know, I am kind of bummed that I wasn't able to just give the money direct to Full Moon. What the fuck's going on, Charlie? Really? Takes 2 months for you guys to get Backlash back in stock? I mean, Transfer 6 here I can understand not wanting to fucking sell, but Backlash is a classic. I failed to mention it, actually, the first episode of this entire series, our review for the first Oblivion movie, was taken down by the sons of bitches that own the 13 Nights of Elvira for a little bit. That's another thing that happened over the course of this break. And it took me about a week, but I was able to get them to reverse the decision. They monetized the video, of course, but they allowed me to have it back up and public for all you guys to enjoy. So I'm very much looking forward to following that up at some point with the review for Backlash. Anyway, yeah, I also got a copy of Transfer 6, as you've already seen. I've never seen this one. Most people just kind of skipped it, I think, because it's not Tim Thomerson playing Jack Death. But it does look like it's got some decent effects up in there, some hot chicks, so it's got that going for it. Yeah, they did change his gender to a girl, but they didn't really change his gender. The way Transfers works, they hop through time to different descendants. So McNulty, for example, in like all the movies, ends up traveling back in time and inhabiting this young girl. So it makes sense that eventually that would happen to Jack Death. And I can imagine if the movie is put together properly, it could still be a pretty fun addition to the franchise. And that does it for our OOP stack. You guys are going to go ahead and check out the trailer for, you know what? I think we're just going to do that Backlash Oblivion 2, kind of build some of the hype for that review there. So we closed out our last stack with a sequel no one gives a shit about, and that's exactly how we're opening this one, and that is with a copy of Demonic Toys 2. Hey kitty. This looks fucking wretched, okay? Only 2 puppets up in there, toys. They're portrayed with really bad CGI for most of the movie, it looks like. I have heard that it has a good kill, but this is just kind of an example of Full Moon's lazy period, I guess. Which they're still shaking off the effects of. They're doing a pretty good job of it so far, though. But yeah, it's not well loved, and for good reason, but for the sake of completionism, I had to have it, and I will be, you know, obviously reviewing it eventually. Can't say I'm, like, overly excited about doing it, but it's got to be done. This one, however, seems to be a little more well-loved, and that is Depraved Decadent Evil 2. This is actually an upgrade to the copy of it that I had in a multi-pack that my boy Andrew Wollerick hooked me up with a while back. So now I've got both Decadent Evil and Decadent Evil 2, which kind of, you know, for the time being until Subspecies 5 comes out, completes like my run of those movies. Because even though they aren't direct sequels to Subspecies, these are spin-offs from Vampire Journals, which is a spin-off from Subspecies. So they're spin-offs of a spin-off. Have not seen either of them. They look pretty trashy, but they look like a lot of fun as well. Kind of seem like they almost have that same vibe as like Blood Dolls, which is a masterpiece of late 90s full moon trash, you know, definitely worth checking out. Moving away from the sequels, we got a copy of The Daytime Ended, a little proto full moon flick from the Charlie Band Productions days back in like the late 70s. Pretty awesome little aliens in the desert flick. It reminds me a lot of like E.T. or Critters with some good, you know, David Allen stop-motion creatures up in there and whatnot. It's a digitally remastered edition, and I can confirm that it looks fantastic. Only gripe I have about it is, I guess it's some type of printing error. There's no label on the spine. Like, there's no words. And it's not wraparound artwork, like it ends and then starts the art on the back, you know? It's not like a continuous picture or anything. But I think I can have my brother like take an image of the logo and just make me a little decal to place on the inside of the sleeve there, and I can just fix it myself because I don't want it on the shelf with like no fucking labeling on it. That's insanity. And after that, we got early 90s full moon gem here, like sort of mid 90s. I think it came out in 93 or 94. And that is Dark Angel The Ascent. I never really hear this talked about at all. It looks pretty friggin' rad. It's basically like Little Mermaid, but with Satan. You know, there's like this devil chick that wants to see what the human world's like, so she comes up to live amongst us, and I guess that pisses off some other devils or something like that. And it just looks like a good time. It's entirely weird to me that it comes from sort of that classic era of full moon where most of the stuff is praised. So I'm hoping this is the case like Shadow Zone and it's a hidden gem, and not one of those situations where it's not talked about for good reason. I think it looks pretty promising though. Definitely do not like the sort of modern cover art they used for the digitally remastered edition here. If you look at the poster art for the movie, it would have been a lot better. You know, would have ended up looking closer to some quality retro style shit like The Daytime Ended there, instead of looking like softcore porn. Anyway, then we got a copy of The Creep. This is a late 90s Charlie Band full moon flick here. He sort of did like a trio of Tiny Terror movies when he came back after a brief hiatus in the late 90s. One of them was Hideous, one of them was Blood Dolls, one of them was this, and then he also did like a kid-friendly one called Goobers for the Moonbeam label. Creeps is definitely the closest full moon ever came to doing some straight-up Universal Monsters worship in the style of like the Monster Squad. Basically all these little, you know, literary creatures get brought to life by this mad scientist dude, only he fucks up. He's supposed to use a virgin, but he doesn't use a proper virgin. So they all come back as little tiny creatures, you know, as dwarves. You know, and that's kind of the gimmick of the entire movie. It's one of the few movies Full Moon ever attempted to shoot in like full 3D, but really they just shot a couple of things where there's like drool coming towards the screen or stuff like that that still looks really cool even not in 3D. You got Phil Fondacaro up in there as Tiny Dracula. That's all you really need to know. And then finally, for our single edition grips here, we have the free movie of the month, and that is a copy of Horror Vision. This was done by Danny Draven, who did Ouija's, one of the more recent full moon movies that I actually really enjoyed. It's basically just Ghoulies Go to Vegas. Horror Vision is one of those technology gone wrong movies they were doing a lot when people were first using the internet really frequently. It's got a big old, you know, like robot skull creature in there. It looks like a character from a Gwar video. And I watched it pretty drunk as well, so what I remember of it I did enjoy. I'm definitely going to have to revisit it before I can say anything else on it though. But it confirmed a theory I had, and that is that maybe each free movie of the month was individual for each shipment. I was looking at it as like a flavor of the month at an ice cream shop or something, where it's a set flavor all month long. So I did actually place this order during the same month as our previous pickup special, which is the one I got Ouija's in, I believe. And I was unsure if, you know, I was just going to get another copy of The Crypt in this order because that was the free movie I got in the previous one. Turns out they just throw a random title in each box, and this is the one that I got in this one. So stoked on that. And then finally closing out this first half of our Swoops special here. Looks like we're probably going to be able to do these in 2 segments, actually. I'm making really good time here, so if I don't fuck around too much on our second segment, we should be able to bang them out in a nice little double feature. But in any case, we got the better part of a full moon series here that kind of has a mixed reputation among fans, and that is Killjoy. I actually own the first 3 films in this franchise on a multi-pack with the first 9 Puppet Master movies, and I needed to do the upgrade so I could have that single edition status going for future reviews. We got the original Killjoy here, not a great movie. It's kind of low-rent Freddy Krueger mixed with Pennywise the Clown. And the second film, which I don't remember being impressed by either, so I never got around to watching the third movie, but it turns out that's where it gets fucking awesome. And then it just continues to get crazier from here. I'm very much looking forward to finally checking this out. After watching the trailers for all the films, I just cannot wait to dive into them. And hopefully here in the near future I'll be snagging the resin statues for Killjoy and the other chick clown and whatever else they got for them. But anyways, after that we got Killjoy Goes to Hell, or Killjoy 4, and I believe the only one I'm missing is Killjoy 5, Killjoy's Psycho Circus, which unfortunately is like not in print at the moment through Full Moon, so I'm probably going to end up just snagging it elsewhere just to close the shit out. I think they did do a Killjoy box set at some point, but I don't know if it has all 5 movies in it. If they ever put something like that out, like in print again, I'd love to grab it just for the sleeve, you know. I'd buy the whole series again just to have it looking awesome on the shelf, but, you know, for the time being, if I can get that 5th one, I'll feel pretty good about it. And it felt nice to basically knock an entire franchise off the list in one swoop. And this was all during that sale that I got the other stuff on. So I don't remember what I paid for each of these. I think it was like a 50% off sale, so they were probably each like $3.50, something like that. Not too bad. That does it for our mainline Full Moon grips here, folks. Our next segment is going to cover exclusively stuff that was purchased from Full Moon's Grindhouse collections, and to honor that, we are going to celebrate with a little musical number here called Mike Diva's Grindhouse Mega Mix. Enjoy. Thanks for watching. As always, I have been Mosley. You've been a bunch of sexy fucking beasts, and this has been yet another episode of that Full Moon madness. Feels good to be back, baby.
Do you like things that go bump in the night, bump in the night, bump in the night?